We're in the middle of a live stream. Yes, we're talking about, you know what? No intro, no nothing like that. Just this article right here. We're talking about this BBC article, and oh, it's insulting. It is so, like all these hit pieces. Why Empire Strikes Back is overrated. And of course, we have Rob from Midnight's Edge here.
Hi everybody. Yeah, I looked up what Nicholas Barber looks like. I expected him to be like Ethan's drawing of
the soy boy drawing.
No, he's like an old coot. He's an old dude. I mean, he's probably in somewhere in his late 40s, early 50s, maybe. I mean, but he's not one of those cool British guys, who, like James May or Richard Hammond, or he's a stiff. He is really a stiff.
Like,
well, I can't say for sure. I don't know the man. So he could be very nice, but he looks like a stiff to me. So,
but probably not. If you're writing an article like this, I just tweeted back in response, "Oh, are you that lonely in isolation due to the thing that you just gotta write something like this for attention?"
Oh boy.
Oh, you guys don't believe me? I actually did literally write that.
See, I don't respond to anybody on Twitter. Well, not unless they deserve it, so.
Well, I mean, I didn't really respond. Like, it was just a random article that I kept seeing people sending me. And thank you guys for sending me articles. If you do see these articles, definitely send them to me, because I will rip them a new one if they deserve it. And a lot of the times they absolutely do.
Nicholas Barber claims that the Empire Strikes Back is overrated. He tries to make a case. First of all, overrated is a meaningless term. It is said by people who want to appear smarter than they are, and the reason why it's meaningless is because it is never qualified with anything.
Also, G-Riders, $2 super chat. Thank you so much. Anita S. is the true Sith Lord. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
She certainly doesn't help things, does she?
No. But anyway, like I said, it's never qualified. It's, this is totally overrated. Empire Strikes Back is totally overrated. Beatles are totally overrated.
You just want to disagree with somebody just for attention. That's what that is. You just want to pick something apart because you don't see what all the fuss is about, and you want to be different just to go against the... Yeah. I'm exactly like this. I'm exactly like this on a lot of things. There's a lot of movies I think are overrated, but I don't go around writing articles on them.
I don't like to say something's overrated. I'll say, listen, I just don't like it. I attempt not to use the term overrated, but let's get into the meat of this. The general consensus is that the second is in the original Star Wars trilogy released 40 years ago is the best. In fact, it's to blame for the franchise's problems, writes Nicholas Barber. It's 40 years this month since The Empire Strikes Back was released, and for the most of that time, the second film in the Star Wars series has been enshrined as the best, because it is. The darkest, most complex, the most mature. Directed by Irving Kershner, it's the Star Wars episode with the highest score from critics on Rotten Tomatoes and from viewers on IMDb, and the one that is said to elevate the whole saga. Now, this is, he gets to quote from Roger Ebert here. It is because of the emotions stirred in Empire, Roger Ebert wrote in the Chicago Sun-Times when the film was re-released in 1997, that the entire series takes on a mythic quality that resonates back to the first and ahead to the third. This is the heart. Yes, it is.
No, seriously, though, what's this guy's problem?
Okay, he's getting to that. Here he goes. I wish I could agree. This might come across as a contrarian hot take, which it is, but it seems obvious to me that the best film in the Star Wars series is, in fact, Star Wars. Oh, okay, well, all right. Well, okay. Okay, you know what? I'll give you that. Okay, I'll give you that. Okay. That's not unreasonable.
At least he's not saying The Force Awakens or something stupid like that. Or The Last Jedi is the best one. The Last Jedi is the best one because it has diversity.
Well, anyways, I know we're supposed to call it A New Hope these days, but it was called Star Wars when it came out in 1977. So that's good enough for me. Okay, all right. What's more, it seems obvious that The Empire Strikes Back is the source of all the franchise's problems.
No.
Whatever issue we geeks grumble about when we're discussing the numerous prequels and sequels, they can all be traced back to 1980. Okay, I'll give you that you like the first film more than Empire. Okay, I'll give you that. However, let's get into this and see what his issue is. I should add, before too many people attempt a Darth Vader style force choke through the internet, that I wouldn't be saying this if I wasn't in awe of what George Lucas accomplished as the writer and director and producer of the original Star Wars. That swashbuckling adventure, those iconic characters, that lived in world with its wealth of history, mythology, politics, and technology. I'm not completely happy with Alec Guinness's toupee. Come on, it doesn't look that bad. Lucas's masterpiece gets more astonishing with every rewatch. Then came The Empire Strikes Back, a gloomier film, admittedly, but as a slower, stodgier, more contrived, convoluted, and repetitive one. How's it repetitive? Again, I'm not being perverse here. In 1980, several critics were underwhelmed. Oh, okay, here we go. Including Vincent Canby of the New York Times, who stated that the sequel wasn't as fresh and funny and surprising and witty as Star Wars. It was, he believed, a big, expensive, time-consuming, essentially mechanical operation. Well, yeah, because it's setting up the table for the third film. If you dig deep enough, you'll find a bad review for anything.
Oh yeah.
For God's sake, I always point this. Come on, even the Beatles had their critic.
Well, and then Casablanca, everything has their critic. Also, I got a couple of super chats here. Captain April, for the troops, the NHS, Rule Britannia. Well, thank you so much. Also, Brian the Observer, who died and made him king of ratings. And thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Anyways, he goes on. I wouldn't go that far, but let's be sensible about this. The production design is clearly not on the same level as Star Wars. Well, we're dealing with other places. The Rebel base on the ice planet looks like roughly what you expect a Rebel place on an ice planet to look like. The plain white plastic corridors of Cloud City could have been salvaged from the studio bins after a Star Trek film had wrapped.
All right. Well, but that's exactly what the thing was with the first film too. I mean, it looked really similar to a lot of the other space style things of that time.
Mm-hmm.
So his argument that the first one was this, but the second one wasn't, is just ridiculous.
Well, anyway, let's go on. These shortcomings are disguised by Peter Schutzky's atmospheric cinematography, master of shadows, reflection, and deep color. He would go on to be David Cronenberg's regular director of photography, but not even Schutzky's spine-tingling work could improve the derivative story. How is it? He's making a weak case here. Key events in Star Wars include Luke Skywalker being knocked unconscious by a wilderness alien, Princess Leia being captured by Darth Vader, David Prowse's body paired with James Earl Jones' voice, Luke learning about the Force from a Jedi Master in a remote cave, a lightsaber duel that ends badly for the good guys, a scoundrel abandoning the rebels before having a change of heart, and a protracted battle between the ranks of the Rebel Alliance and the heavily armed Empire. Switch around the order of those events, and you've got The Empire Strikes Back. And while the screenwriters Lawrence Kasdan and Lee Brackett did a clever job of revising and reshuffling our favorite scenes, that hardly compares to Lucas's achievement of dreaming up those scenes in the first place. What? This is a bunch of double talk.
All right. I know what happened. He was assigned, write an article that will get a lot of views for Star Wars for May the 4th. And he's like, well, I like Star Wars. What can I write about it? I mean, I don't want to bring any more attention to the whole Phantom Menace stuff, and I don't want to do any of this. But, I mean, this is basically just a clickbait article to get people say, oh, really? Why do you hate The Empire Strikes Back? Because in the original tweet, they say it was the worst one here.
Yeah. Well, anyway, he keeps going.
It's actually, audiences might love it, but The Empire Strikes Back is actually the worst Star Wars film, according to their tweet. They're using their tweet to get you to their article that basically pussies out and doesn't actually stick to it. He just basically says, oh yeah, but it's really not, and here's everything why it's good. And
well, anyway, here he goes. He keeps going. Hang on a minute. Although the Death Star has been destroyed, the sole aim of the heroes and heroines in Star Wars was to destroy the Death Star, a humongous planet-pulverizing spaceship of crucial strategic importance to the Empire. One of their big cheeses announced that the fear of this battle station would keep every dissenter in line. Another hailed it as the ultimate power in the universe. But now the rebels' demolishing of the ultimate power in the universe is waved aside with an although. Well, you don't think that there's a contingency plan? Every military, I mean, even if your flagship is just, I mean, come on, man. We got attacked at Pearl Harbor. That wasn't the end of the war for us. That, frankly, is not on. And it's just one of the many instances when The Empire Strikes Back asks us to pretend that Star Wars didn't happen. No, it doesn't ask you to do that.
See, this is why why didn't he just write something like, hey, The Last Jedi still is divisive, you know? Why did he do something like that? Why did he have to go this roundabout way of pussing out? He pussed out.
Well, anyways, remember that scene in Star Wars where an Imperial Admiral mocked Darth Vader for his sad devotion to that ancient religion? Forget it, because in The Empire Strikes Back, we're told that the Emperor himself is devoted to the same religion. Yeah, but you know, he could still probably think it's sad, even if he is in the rank and file.
Mm-hmm.
And what about Obi-Wan Kenobi? Remember how he started training Luke to be a Jedi Knight partly because of his previous pupil, Darth Vader, turned to the dark side of the Force? Narrative logic demands that the ghostly Obi-Wan should keep on training Luke in The Empire Strikes Back and send his new apprentice into combat to fight his old one. Forget it. The poor old chap is cold-shouldered so that Yoda can train Luke instead. Yeah, but Yoda...
So he doesn't like Yoda? I mean, sorry, Obi-Wan was just dead, and how do we know that they had that kind of Force power? This is all new shit that they brought in after the fact, where the Force ghosts can, you know, sit around and have tea with you and have a conversation. That wasn't established at the time of this happening. You know, this is why the retcons suck. And what does he have a problem with Yoda for? Yoda's amazing, and so is Baby Yoda.
Well, anyway, watching Star Wars and The Empire Strikes Back one after the other is like watching a hijacking. You're seeing a juggernaut being held up and driven in another direction. You can sense that Lucas and his team aren't focusing on the current film anymore. They're setting up the third part in what would now be a trilogy. They are no longer interested in Wars in the Stars. Despite its title, The Empire Strikes Back is rarely about the Alliance versus the Empire. It's about who is related to whom and who is in love with whom. Sometimes the two overlap. It twists the saga from the political to the personal, from space opera to soap opera. It is possible whether the Empire is better or worse off at the end of the film after all that it's supposed striking back. Not really. None of that matters, apparently, compared to the booming declaration, "I am your father." I'm not. So
he's mad that he's trying to take the name literally, and he's nitpicking the literal name of it. What does The Last Jedi have to do with anything?
Well, it doesn't have any.
Yeah, there's no Last Jedi in there. You got grumpy old Luke sucking booby milk, and you got little Mary Ray Palpatine, you know, subverting expectations.
He's upset that Yoda wasn't in the first film, that all this stuff wasn't laid out for him. That he's upset that the characters actually experienced something called character growth between one film and the other.
Yeah, well, that's typical modern SJW mentality. Everybody has to be out of the gate perfect and predict the future social shifts so that they can never say the wrong thing. Also, G-Virus, thank you so much. $2 super chat. Dude sounds jealous of other successes, right? And thank you so much. Really, really appreciate it. He does. He sounds like he's just jealous that they...
I can't believe I'm 51 years old. I'm still writing for BBC Culture. Where did my life go take a wrong turn? I can't believe this. I wanted to be an actor. I wanted to do Shakespeare.
Well, that's what they're saying in chat here. Let me scroll back. Shelby MD says this journo talks like he has worked on movie productions during the 70s when you could just put an actor in a computer.
Okay. If the Empire, let me keep going. If the Empire Strikes Back had been a one-off, I could have forgiven it by now. But what about all the many films that have used it as a model? All the films that have tarnished Star Wars by contradicting its mythos and obsessing over its family trees. All tiresome, dramatic revelations which have tried and failed to be as mind-blowing as the one about Luke's lineage. I was annoyed when Qui-Gon Jinn was shoehorned into Obi-Wan's past. I wasn't. He was the best character in the whole thing. Annoyed when Rey became Palpatine's granddaughter or something in The Rise of Skywalker. Annoyed when the emergence of the all-conquering First Order in The Force Awakens reduced everything done by Luke, Leia, and Han Solo to a footnote. But I accept that the writers and directors of those films were only following The Empire Strikes Back's bad example. Well, okay, there's your first mistake. Okay, I'm not too upset about Qui-Gon Jinn because Liam Neeson's character was the best one in that movie.
You know, I kind of think he was a little useless in some ways, and he was kind of a bad Jedi in a lot of ways. Like, he was kind of responsible for, us having Vader in the first place. If they just left that little kid on the planet, I mean, none of this would have happened.
Yeah. The big problem is here, though. I mean, you're just upset that the new movies aren't very good. You're just
looking for a reason to say it. Yeah. Well, this goes back to my orc argument from a few days ago, where people are going out of their way to say orcs are this or that, they're ist, and it just boils down to a lot of people who don't actually like the thing that they're talking about, and they have to find nitpicks to criticize about it that are going to convince other people not to like it, or that they're in the right for not liking it, because they can't just say, I don't like such and such a thing, because they don't really have that sort of conviction anymore. We have this no negativity society where that's how they think. They can't just say I don't like it, because if you don't like something, you get a million crying Raylos trying to attack you personally and send you death threats because you hurt their feelings, because they take it personally that you didn't like a movie that has nothing to do with their enjoyment of it. They can just
Well, he wraps up here. It's not just Star Wars films that have made exasperating mistake of prioritizing franchise building over simply making a good film either. Think of all those films and TV shows that assume we'll jump for joy when the villain is to be revealed to blah 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 blah. When the villain is revealed to be Sherlock Holmes' sister or James Bond's childhood pal. Think of all those superhero blockbusters that waste time teeing up the next installment in the series. I'm sorry, but The Empire Strikes Back has to take the blame for all of them. Search your feelings, you know it to be true. No, it's not true. No, it's not true. It is. Listen, it's not true, pal. Okay.
I can see that. Yes, they were, but there's got to be other examples of other movie trilogies and things that set up the next film in that way. And it's not like that's a bad thing to set up your next film, but as long as it doesn't take away from, what you're trying to do in general. Like, The Last Jedi and the current Disney trilogy didn't do that at all, so you can't blame them for that, because they didn't set up the next films, so your argument's invalid there.
Yeah, I know you don't like it, but Lord of the Rings sets up the next installment of the story.
Yes, but those were considered to be really, really good, and I can appreciate that people like them, even though they're not my taste, particularly. That's the issue here, is that you're blaming Empire Strikes Back for setting up the next film, but a lot of the times when that happens, it's a good thing.
George Lucas had to make the first movie work on its own, and
so you can have a next movie or two more.
Well, the reason being for that is because he didn't know if the rest of it he was going to get a chance to make it. It could have bombed. That's the thing. It could have very well bombed. Mm-hmm. He didn't know. He didn't know what was going to become a big cultural phenomenon, and he didn't know that Kathleen Kennedy was going to destroy it 40 years later.
Right.
So he said, okay, he had this whole saga mapped out. And he's essentially said, okay, you know what? Let me just make this one. It's the best part of the story here. So, and what happens. Like I said, I'm willing to give him that. The first movie is his favorite. That he likes the first movie more. That he thinks the first movie is a better film. I'm willing to concede that. However, not for any of the reasons that he states.
So consensus, this is just clickbait, huh?
Clickbait, yeah. He needed something. He needed something. I can't believe what I'm writing. I've got to write clickbait now. I thought it'd be more dignified than that. I'm working for the Daily Mail. I can't believe
the Daily Mail's better in some ways. So I think our consensus on this one is clickbait. I am going to go back to the live stream. I'm going to stop the recording on this one and trim it down a bit. We went about 23 minutes on that, so it'll be definitely condensed.
Yeah, it's a bit long.
Tell me what you guys think in the comment section below.